Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is Z, strictly here back to a brand new video. More college football updates, week 11. Now, I'm a bit late than normal. Normally, I do these on Sunday afternoons. The AP Top 25 comes out at 1 p.m. on Sundays. But now that we're pretty much over halfway done with the entire year, the college football rankings have come out. These rankings are different, and that many teams will be at different ranks. Now, AP used to be the end all be all ranking back when there was the BCS, but now it's the CPF rankings because those teams that are ranked in the playoffs get in the playoffs. They might have a higher ranking than AP, but if they're not in the playoff rankings, they're not in it. So that is the official new rankings. Those come out at Tuesday as opposed to Sunday. So for the remainder of the year, these videos I'll try to get these to come out on Tuesday nights, but I didn't feel like doing it yesterday. It's now Wednesday. I'm off work normally working, but I'm off, so I figured I might as well do it this morning. Let's get into it for week 11. See how things have shaped up. USC, ranked number 19, beat Northwestern pretty easily. No shock there, 38-17. Ohio State playing Purdue. Now, as we know, Purdue in the past has shocked the world and beaten Ohio State a few times, but not this year. Ohio State proves to 9-0, the clear best team in the nation, 34-10. Julian Sayin drops 300 yards, and I believe he's like at about an 8% completion percentage, which is probably one of the highest, I think, in college football history. Indiana and then Penn State. Penn State having a horrible year. After this game, 0-6 in the Big Ten after being ranked number 2 in the nation, with championship hopes, are now one of the worst teams in the nation, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. They nearly end Indiana's undefeated season and pull off a huge upset at home. Indiana had previously never won at Penn State, and they finally get it done. A beautiful catch by Indiana receiver, arguably one of the best catches of the entire year. Tiptoe, guy in his face. Unbelievable catch. That was the game-winning touchdown. Indiana wins 27-24 and maintains their undefeated season. A&M also undefeated. One of, I think, these three teams right here are the only undefeated teams left in the nation. 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Playing Missouri. Now at the half, it was 14-0. And that second half, it was 24-17. But A&M continues their undefeated season against Missouri, who is now 2-3 in the SEC. They're now probably out of the top 25 for sure, and are under 500 in the SEC. I mean, they're a good team, but the SEC is just so good that what are you going to do? Like, if I gave you also Missouri's quarterback got hurt, but let's say Missouri's quarterback doesn't get hurt. If you put Missouri in the ACC or the Big 12, they could be a powerhouse in those conferences, despite those conferences still being competitive as well, but just not as many high caliber teams as the SEC has, in my opinion. Also, Reed leading his team undefeated. Definitely should be in the Heisman race. In my opinion, he's number 1. LSU versus Alabama. A historic rivalry. This year, not so much. I mean, it was a low-scoring game, only 29, but no touchdowns for LSU. Was not really close to the whole game, despite the scoreboard only being won by 11 points. But they had no shot. LSU is in disarray for being ranked top 10 in the beginning of the year. Now 2-4 in the SEC. Brian Kelly is gone. It is a big time bust of a year for LSU, and they will have a new coach soon. We'll see who that is next year. Georgia plays Mississippi State. Now, a lot of people actually picked Mississippi State to pull off this upset here at home, I believe, and that was not the case. 41-21. It was not close. In that second quarter, Georgia scored 21 points after being down in the first quarter. Mississippi State falls to 1-5 in the SEC, and it's still a pretty good 5-5 team. Don't get me wrong, but Georgia, in a big statement win, blows them out by 21 points. Citadel versus Ole Miss. There's not really a need to discuss this game. 49-0 against a Tiny, tiny school that's a military school. Who cares? BYU and Texas Tech. BYU was one of 4 undefeated teams, no longer. They get blown out by Texas Tech in a big statement game. That Texas Tech was like, hey, we lost that one game and you dropped us in rankings. It's time to put us back up there. We are the team to beat in the Big 12, and we're going to prove it today. And they blew out BYU. It was our domination, 13-0 at half. BYU did not score a touchdown until the fourth quarter, folks. It was a bloodbath. Texas Tech puts the world on notice that, hey, when it comes playoff time, we're going to be in there. We're going to be scary. Oregon and Iowa. This is one of those games that people thought that might be a big upset. A lot of people were predicting Iowa at home to beat Oregon, and Oregon gets a game-winning field goal with seconds left, 18-16. Improved to 8-1 and still have their hopes for winning the Big Ten. Meanwhile, Iowa falls to 4-2, and their hopes of winning the Big Ten are pretty much null and void. However, still a pretty good team. 6-3 season is not too bad. People were expecting that if Iowa wins this game and would have gone to 5-1, they had a real shot at making the playoffs. But now that's done for. But kudos to Iowa for putting up a good game against a very good Oregon team. Navy and Notre Dame. Navy was once 7-0 and has lost 2 games in a row to North Texas and now Notre Dame, who utterly smashed them as predicted, 49-10. Notre Dame's 2 losses again are top 10 teams. Well, one's A&M, one of the best teams in the country. One's Miami, who is down on its luck so far. But Notre Dame is blowing teams out of the water and will probably finish the season with no more losses and will probably make the playoffs because they're just being so dominant now. Let's continue. Wake Forest and Virginia. Virginia gets upset by Wake Forest. Their first loss in the ACC after what looked like to be a shoo-in for the playoffs now fall to 8-2. And pretty much they need to win the ACC if they want to make the playoffs now. So this was a big, big loss for Virginia. California also upsets Louisville. And then again, one of those teams from the ACC that was looking to make the playoffs, now 7-2 and 4-2 in the ACC. They might not even make the ACC championship game, and if they do, they need to win it. Otherwise, they will not make the playoffs either. So a big loss for Louisville. Auburn and Vandy. Went to overtime. Vandy coming off a loss against Texas last week, which was utter domination till the end when Vandy somehow almost came back and won the game. But Vandy almost loses to Auburn, who's one of the worst teams in the SEC. But they pull it away in overtime, the touchdown. Diego Pavia has nearly 400 yards passing. Vandy improves to 8-2, but is looking a bit suspect. Like maybe they're not as good as people think they have been. People were saying that Diego Pavia was a Heisman candidate, which I thought was ridiculous because stats-wise, Arch Manning and all the activity around him has had a better year statistically. Arch Manning has more passing yards than him, more passing touchdowns than him for a time, I think. So technically, Arch Manning's had a better year than Diego Pavia, but the story of Vandy has been pretty much why he's been elevated to such height of publicity. Moving on, Syracuse and Miami. Miami gets a much-needed win here against Syracuse. They're 7-2, 3-2 in the ACC. Might not even make the ACC championship game. We never know. It's going to be tough. They are 18 now after being top 3 in the nation. Mostly because Carson Beck sucks. But Washington, top 25 at last, as people thought they deserved. And they lose to Wisconsin, giving them their first win in the Big Ten. So maybe you didn't deserve it at all. They're now 3-3 in the Big Ten. Bye-bye. You're not sniffing the top 25 for the rest of the year. Now, let's go to the stats real quick, why don't we? New number 1 and passing yards, Kevin Jennings. So there's a lot of change here. Sawyer Robinson drops from number 1 to 5. Manziah from Duke is back in. Kevin Jennings from SMU is in here. Guy from Connecticut is in here. Rushing wise, Hardy is in top 3. Nebraska dude, no shock there. Jeremiah Love has had I think 2 90, 80 yard plays in 2 weeks, back-to-back weeks, and he's rocketing up the top 5. Receiving wise, Kai Lemon is the only guy from a big time school on this list. College football playoff. Is this what we want to do with the rankings? Let's go to standings. Let's real quick. Let's check out the ACC. We got 5-1, 5-1, 5-1, 5-1, 5-1, 4-1. So like Miami is 3-2. They're in deep water. But let's check out the rankings. So we're no longer going to be looking at this, not the official rankings. This is the official rankings that will dictate if you make the playoffs, what type of bowl games you're in. This is now pretty much null and void. So here we go. College football rankings. Let's check it out. Top 5 are all the same. 3 SEC teams at 3, 4, and 5, and 2 big teams at 1 and 2. No shock there. Those are the best 2 teams in football, period. Just outside is the lone Big 12 team in the top 10, Texas Tech, moving up 2 spots. Ole Miss, another SEC team right behind at number 7. They got jumped by Texas Tech. And Oregon in the Big 10, moving up a little bit, number 8. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, the independent, is back in the top 10. Well, still in the top 10. They were top 10 last week, but they're now number 9. Texas is at number 10. Oklahoma, a team that they beat easily, is right behind them at number 11. I'll give it to them. They're both really good teams, I think. Underrated, in my opinion. BYU drops 5 spots after getting blown out by Texas Tech with their first loss to 12. Right behind them is Utah, also in the Big 12 at 7-2. Then we got Vandy moving up 2 spots, just ahead of Miami at 8-2. Miami's moving up 3 spots back in the top 15. They got a lot of work ahead of them if they want to make the playoffs. A lot of work. Georgia Tech is behind them at 8-1, which I think is a bit sad. I think Georgia Tech should definitely be ahead of them, in my opinion. I think Georgia Tech should be ahead of Vanderbilt and Utah, in my opinion. They should be right here behind BYU, maybe. Or maybe even ahead of BYU. I think people are disrespecting Georgia Tech. I think they're the best team in the ACC, and I hope they win the ACC and make the playoffs and prove the doubters wrong. USC and Michigan from the Big 10, right behind them at 17 and 18. Virginia drops 5 spots. So does Louisville, with 2 losses. And Iowa, despite losing, only drops 1 spot, which I'll give it to them. They could have won that game. Had that field goal been missed, they would have been way up here probably. Pittsburgh, top 25, as is Tennessee, still at 6-3. Unranked, moving in, is South Florida and Cincinnati. Drop from the rankings is Missouri and Washington. Now, let's go ahead and check upcoming week. Clemson and Louisville. Clemson has had a very, very, very bad year. Look for Louisville to hand middles here. Minnesota and Oregon. Louisville's only favored by 3 points, but I think they'll handle business, in my opinion. But you never know. Minnesota and Oregon. Oregon's favored by 26 points at home. Should be an easy win. Wisconsin and Indiana. Wisconsin coming off that big upset win. However, they're playing Indiana. And Indiana is favored by 30 points. So, South Carolina and A&M. A&M is favored by 20 points at home. Should be an easy win. Notre Dame and Pittsburgh. This is a big, big game for Notre Dame. If they lose this game, they are out of the playoffs. And they're an away game. Pittsburgh is not a team to be taken lightly. However, if I had to guess, Notre Dame will handle business here. And will, again, prove to people that, hey, our 2 losses are 2 really quality losses. And we deserve to be in the playoffs. So, that would not shock me if Notre Dame wins this game, wins it easily. Michigan and Northwestern. Northwestern's 5-4, not a bad team. But shouldn't be a hard game to win here for Michigan. South Florida and Navy. Navy, again, has lost 2 games in a row now. They're at home at the Naval Academy. South Florida, though, is a incredible team. Really, really good. One of the best mid-major teams by far. I think they'll handle business here. Arizona and Cincinnati. Arizona's one of those teams that should be taken lightly. They have a great quarterback in Noah Fifta. 2,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions only. He's a good quarterback. If you let him get going, Cincinnati could get beaten here. And I would not be surprised if they did that. Here is a huge game. Probably will be the game of the week if I had to guess. Looking around. Or maybe that one. It's either definitely going to be Texas and Georgia, or it's going to be Oklahoma and Alabama as the game of the week. Oklahoma visiting Alabama. We all know last week or 2 weeks ago, I believe, they had that big quote-unquote upset over Tennessee at home where they were not picked to win. And Oklahoma beat them pretty easily. In the second half, it was all Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a great defense. John Mateer coming off injuries, but getting better. And then was favored by 6 points at home. Now, I'm a Texas fan. However, I do root for Oklahoma because I know we both came to the Big 12. SEC people like the dog shit on our teams. However, Texas has been dominant in SEC across most sports. So I want Oklahoma to win this game and upset Alabama. That would be awesome. See them pull out the upset of Alabama. People with the cope would be amazing to see. So I'm rooting for Oklahoma to pull out the upset here. UCF and Texas Tech should be a blowout at home. NC State and Miami. Miami is favored by 14, but we know that they play down to competition. NC State is no joke, despite being 2-3 in the ACC. So we'll see. But Miami should handle business. Georgia Tech and Boston College. Boston College is 1-9, 0-6 in the ACC. Look for Georgia Tech to blow them out of the water. USC and Iowa. Great game at USC. USC's favored. I would like to see Iowa win this game. I'm not a big fan of California teams in the slightest. So I'd like to see Iowa win that game. Virginia and Duke. Again, Duke has a great quarterback. He is in top 5 passing yards in the entire nation. And Duke is at home. So Duke is favored in this game by 4 points against a ranked team, and they're 5-4. Both teams only have one loss in the ACC. This is a big, big game in terms of making it to the ACC championship game. Personally, I would love to see Duke upset Virginia. That'd be awesome to see. New Mexico State and Tennessee should be a blowout. Tennessee having a down year. They're favored by 42 points, and it probably will be pretty ugly. Florida and Ole Miss. Florida is 3-6, but again, they play teams tight. They nearly beat Georgia. Georgia beat Ole Miss. Now Ole Miss, not Mississippi State. Calm down. Ole Miss is favored by 16 points because they're at home. But do not put it past Florida to at least keep it, either keep it tight or play well for maybe half the game. But Ole Miss should handle business here. Keyword should. Baylor versus Utah. Baylor's at home. I don't like Baylor. Baylor is the only team from Texas that I probably won't root for ever. So, despite that, I'm going with Utah here. UCLA and Ohio State. This is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be very, very ugly. Texas and Georgia. No potential game of the week. In Athens, Georgia. Georgia is favored by 6 points. Arch Manning is having a much better year this last half of the season, last couple of games. Texas defense is one of the best in the nation. Playing a lot better. This is a big game for both teams. Texas loses this game, they fall to 7-3 and will be out of the playoff conversation. But if they win this game, they are back in. And teams are like, oh shit. Texas might be for real. They might have had just Arch Manning just played like dog shit in the first couple games of the year, but he's back and he is out for blood. So honestly, at the end of the day, Georgia is a very, very tough opponent, especially in the fourth quarter. They're one of the best fourth quarter teams in the nation. It's hard to really say for certain that Texas can pull off this upset. I'd love to see it as a Texas fan. At the end of the day, I just want it to be a really good game and not get our asses whooped. TCU and BYU. BYU coming off its first half of the season at home. Look for them to get some revenge and beat the dog shit out of TCU despite only being favored by 6 points. So that's it for Week 11. Got a lot of big games for Week 12 that might either make or break people's playoff chances. And it's really shaping up. We're getting close to the end of the season, and we're at Week 11. Week 16 is the last game last week, and that's our name game. So Week 15, that's the conference championship. 14. So we've got 3 more weeks left, and it is getting tight. So we'll see who makes the playoffs and who's not. It's been a great year so far. Look at that game right there, by the way. And see you guys in the next episode. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content. I know I've been promising for a couple weeks to bring back the gaming content. Again, we will see what happens. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. This is User3 signing out.